take me through in practice when you're talking about an investment portfolio or a retirement plan. What does it actually look like? What do those conversations look like? Is it always about comparing things to the S&P 500, or do you throw that out, or is it just some kind of mile marker on the road? What does that look like in terms of behavioral finance aligning with it?
That's such a great question and goes right to the core of what we're trying to grapple with in behavioral finance and help people grapple with. One of the biases that we talk about in behavioral finance is the availability bias. So that which you're most familiar with is that which you're going to gravitate towards. So for example, the moment you start talking about investments, people want to talk about the S&P 500 because it's available. It's there on the daily, every news broadcast, every show that talks about the markets talks about the S&P 500, and somehow we think my portfolio, how's it compare to the S&P 500? So the conversations that really arise from behavioral finance have to do with that question of reframing and what's really the right framework. If we're looking at your retirement goal, is the S&P 500 the right measure for you? What is actually the right measure for you? And so the way that I frame it and the way that many financial planners try to frame that for their clients is not so much about how the market's doing, but what do you need to live the life that you want? And so the way that I frame the investment conversation is, look, Mr. and Mrs. Client, we need to figure out how much money you need and when you need it. And wouldn't you agree that if we knew how much you need and the right amount is there at the right time, that's more important than whether your portfolio beat the S&P 500?